They don't pay us to think. They pay us to know. We know we can beat them. There's no excuses why we shouldn't. Win the game, period. W is on 3, man. Let's go. W on 3. 1, 2, 3, W.
Welcome, all my fellow Redskin brethren and sistren. I am your man and resident Redskins fan, Lou. Thank you for joining me here on the Redskins Report Live. Breaking NFL news. Hell, damn that. Breaking Washington Redskins news of the utmost importance. My phone started blowing up, and I just assumed it was a couple of people having a back and forth conversation on my Twitter timeline, and so I didn't even bother to check it. And as I got up to start doing some work on the computer, I said, oh, let me take a look and see what's going on. And the phone continued to blow up while in my hand, and I said, wow, something's got to be going on. The first thing I see on my phone is, wow, are you going live? And I'm like, going live for what? And so I look at my phone, and I see in the timeline, Alex Smith traded to the Redskins. No way, not true. I need a confirmation source. I need Bleacher Report. I need ESPN. I need someone to confirm this, because we know social media can run rampant with lies and spread them like wildfire. So I said, I need proof. ESPN said, hey, I got your proof, and I got your 4-year extension just in case you didn't believe me. I don't believe you. I need more people. Here's your 4-year extension for Alex Smith on top of the trade. Now, compensation for Smith to the Chiefs hasn't been finalized yet, but let's make this official right now. The Washington Redskins have traded with the Kansas City Chiefs for the services of quarterback Alex Smith. Yes, 33-year-old Alex Smith, who was on the last year of his deal, receives a 4-year extension upon the trading of Alex Smith to the Washington Redskins. So, in effect, he's going to be the starter for the Redskins for the unforeseen future. We'll talk about the ramifications of this trade, the ripple effects. Obviously, Kirk Cousins comes to mind. But what does that mean for the Redskins draft? There's so much to discuss, so many different layers. What did the Redskins give up? You know, as a Redskins fan, the first thing we're thinking, better not have given up a first-round pick. Okay, it'd be great if we didn't give up a second rounder, but you can't be that greedy. Okay, Alex Smith is worth a second round pick in this league, and so I've got to think at least he fetched a second round pick. I'm hoping that if he got a first, it's not going to be in this year's draft. Obviously, the Redskins are smarter than that. With Alex Smith on the roster, they've got to think they've got a shot to be good next season. And if you're going to have to part ways with the first round pick, you do it in next year's draft. You don't do it in this year's draft. But in any event, if I know Bruce Allen like I think I know Bruce Allen, he's very stingy, not only with the wallet, but with the draft choices. I'd like to think that Bruce Allen would not part ways with the first round pick to get Alex Smith. I'll be checking my phone. Okay, Redskins, here's an update right now. Chiefs expect to receive second-round pick and possibly more from Redskins in the deal. That is per Adam Schefter. So news is going to continue to trickle down as we're doing this live feed. I want to talk to everyone out there. So make sure you line up your comments. Use the hashtag LouieTLive if you want your comment read. We'll get to those comments. I'm also on Twitter. In the Lab Room is the Twitter handle, as you see in front of you. So make sure you use those two platforms. We're going to talk in depth about this move, what it means for both teams, what it means for Kirk Cousins moving forward, and all of the different things that are ripple effects of this move. This is huge because I've been saying this for a year now, year and a half, that Kirk wasn't going to be back. The only way Kirk Cousins was going to come back, and I've said this, my stance had not changed. Nothing had changed. People would ask me throughout the year, and I kept saying the same thing. I don't really need to talk about it. If you want to know how I feel about Kirk Cousins, just go watch any video that I've done in the offseason where I basically told you what was going to happen. If the Redskins, and I didn't think we were good enough to have the Redskins make a run and get deep into the postseason and make both parties feel like this is where we need to be. We need to re-sign Kirk, and Kirk feels like I've got unfinished business with this team. I got to stay here because we're going to win this thing. We're so close. That didn't happen. Okay, 7-9 isn't we're close. We're almost there. We're knocking on the door. That's I need to get the hell out of here. And the Redskins looking at Kirk Cousins like, he's good, but he's not $30 million a year good. And so, obviously, as a Redskins fan, I didn't want Kirk to leave. And I've said that. I still feel that way now, even though it's staring us right in the face. But I knew that from last year. So this isn't breaking my heart because we knew that Kirk Cousins wasn't going to remain a Redskin. What I'm a little upset about is there was a little part of me, just a little part that wanted the Redskins to hold on to Kirk and see if we couldn't dangle him out there and try to entice someone to trade for him. Denver, Cleveland, Jets, Jags, somebody to give up a first rounder in exchange for the services of Kirk Cousins so that you wouldn't have to outbid someone else for Kirk Cousins. That was my hope, that on the way out we could get something for him. Instead, we end up giving up something to go get a quarterback in Alex Smith, which I don't have a problem with because in this league, if you don't have a quarterback, you don't have a chance. Now, I still want a young quarterback, and that's why I said I kind of feel bad for Alex Smith because everywhere he goes, whether it's San Francisco, whether it's Kansas City, whether it's Washington, he's going to have a young guy at some point looking over his shoulder. I'd like to think that the Redskins, because of this move, not going to draft a quarterback in this draft relatively high. They may still draft a young guy in the 4th or the 5th round if they like one that's still available at that time. But if the Redskins are giving up a 2018 second round pick, which Schefter has reported most likely that hasn't been confirmed, but normally when Schefter starts digging and probing, when he starts reporting things, it's usually going to come to fruition. So you'd like to think that at some point, the Redskins are going to give up that second rounder and potentially a 5th and maybe maybe they're like a 2nd, a 4th, and a 5th, which it might be a contingency upon him playing a certain amount of snaps or maybe playing and going over and eclipsing a certain amount of yards, something of that effect, which will then kick into effect a 5th or a 6th or a late round draft choice if he plays to a certain level. For the Redskins, then they'll get a 5th rounder. If not, or if he doesn't play a certain amount of games, then they'll get a 7th rounder instead. In any event, I expect the Redskins, because they didn't give up a first, they're going to give up multiples. And that's fine by me. I'm totally fine with the 2nd and a 5th and a 6th or a 2nd this year, a 4th round next year, and a 5th round next year. I'm fine with that. I just didn't want to give up a first. Those are too critical. Really, seconds are critical, but you weren't going to get the caliber of quarterback, have him come in, be ready, and give you a chance to win right away out of the draft. It just wasn't going to happen. All right. For as good as Deshaun Watson played last year, he still threw a bunch of picks, and the Texans weren't going to win but so many games with him at quarterback. They were still losing despite him playing as well as he was. So with young quarterbacks, there's the good, there's the bad, there's the ugly. And with Jay Gruden, despite getting the extension, he's got to win, and he's got to win now. And there isn't let's bring in a young guy. We can go 4-12, 5-11, or bring in a young guy. Colt McCoy can start, go 5-11, 6-10. Jay Gruden has a short leash despite the extension. I don't think he's going to get canned. But look, there was talk at the end of this season, if things didn't turn around. Remember, after that Chargers loss, it was bad in D.C. And everybody was looking around like, are heads going to roll? If these last few games go down the toilet, and the Redskins, luckily enough, resurrected the season in some form or fashion by beating the Cardinals and the Broncos, two bad football teams, but nonetheless getting 2 wins that they desperately needed at home to kind of right the ship and kind of quiet the rumblings about Jay Gruden, Bruce Allen, everybody getting fired. I know a lot of Redskins fans would have loved to have seen Bruce be shown the door, but I don't want to see Bruce be shown the door at the expense of Jay Gruden. Because remember, Bruce hired Jay. So if Jay doesn't work, Bruce could be in some trouble. I know some of you are like, hey, if I got to sacrifice Jay to get rid of Bruce, I'll do it. I'm not on board with that. I think Jay Gruden is a good coach. Is he good enough to get us over the hump? Time will tell. Right now, he hasn't shown the ability to do that. But I think Jay Gruden's a good coach. He's a great offensive mind. We've had a number of those in Washington and run them out of town. Mike Shanahan, anybody? Kyle Shanahan, anybody? We've run a number of these guys out of town. We've got another one. I'd like to hold on to this one if we can. And I actually think Jay's a good coach. The players seem to love him. They seem to want to play hard for him. He's never, ever lost this team. Despite some bad seasons, his first year was bad, never lost the team. The Cold Red situation, remember that? Turned the season around in 2015. We weren't good down the stretch in 2016, which sucked. Okay, in some games that we needed to play well in, we didn't play well in, but nonetheless, this team could have quit on Jay in 2017. Perfect opportunity after the Cowboys debacle on Thursday night and then getting your ass whooped by the Chargers the following week. The team could have quit. Had nothing to play for, bunch of guys on injured reserve. That was the time. If this team didn't believe in Jay Gruden, that was the time to revolt and go against the grain and give up on Jay Gruden. They didn't do that. Same thing the Bengals did in Cincinnati, saving Marvin Lewis's job. I think the Redskins players showed that they believe in Jay Gruden by continuing to play hard, win some games down the stretch and save his job. So in my mind, Jay Gruden is the guy for the job. And I think Alex Smith is going to come in. And we got an up close and personal look at Alex Smith in week 4 this year. He carved our ass up. And we weren't alone in that. Alex Smith had an MVP-like season. Had he continued the way that he started out the season, the first 8 games of the year, he would have been the MVP of the season. But the Chiefs took a turn for the worse. He continued to play well, not as well as he started out the season, but he ate us up in week 4. And Jay Gruden got to see that up close and personal. We know what Alex Smith is about. He's everything that we've been asking Kirk Cousins to be in terms of a guy that extend plays, to be a playmaker, a guy that will drive the football down the field. Now, driving it down the field, that hasn't been something that Alex Smith has been always willing to do. He was more willing to do that with Tyreek Hill the last 2 years, but he's still a guy that is extremely accurate underneath, short to intermediate. Alex Smith is deadly, which is what the West Coast offense calls for, which is an extension of what Jay Gruden wants to do as an offensive play caller. And so you're going to see Alex Smith continue to do what Kirk Cousins did for this offense. Be highly accurate to short intermediate, but I think what Jay Gruden is looking for at the quarterback position, something that Kirk Cousins wasn't willing to do, is take shots down the field, something that Alex Smith will do if given opportunities. And so we'll see if there's a difference in terms of opportunities down the field. The Redskins didn't take enough shots. Jay Gruden continued to make a number of different mentions about taking shots and Kirk needing to give guys chances, and Kirk would respond with a rebuttal of, well, if I took chances like Jay wanted me to, I'd throw more interceptions. And so Kirk was all about the process. He got that from Sean McVay. And Jay's more like, hey, man, I used to be a quarterback. I'm more of a gunslinger. If it's there, let it go. Don't worry about that safety. He's not going to get there in time. Let it go. Kirk's like, I don't know. Safety might get there. And Jay's like, no, safety's not going to get there if you let it go when I tell you to let it go. Let it go. And so there was a little bit of a discrepancy there. And so I think he feels like Alex Smith can come in and he can run the offense the same way Kirk did. I have no doubts about that. And I actually said, if you go back and watch, I wouldn't mind having Alex Smith. I said that at least 3 or 4 times throughout the season. I wouldn't mind having Alex Smith. Now, is Alex Smith the type of guy to get you over the hump? I don't have the answer to that. Okay? But Kirk Cousins didn't get us over the hump either. I would have loved to have seen him get more of an opportunity to do so. But let's not make this a referendum on Kirk Cousins. He played his ass off for us in D.C. All right? And the ownership, the management, they did this. They put us in a position where Kirk was going to be able to break the bank. He should have been paid after the 2015 season. No questions asked. That deal should have been done. He wasn't asking for a lot. It should have gotten done. He would have been like the 12th or 13th highest paid quarterback. It would look like a steal right now. And he still had 4 years left on that deal. Had they signed him, 3 or 4 years left on that deal. But they elected to wait. He did it again in 2016. Didn't play well down the stretch against Carolina. Didn't play down the stretch well against the Giants. We missed the postseason. But we didn't miss the postseason because of those games. We missed the postseason because we didn't beat Cincinnati with a chip shot field goal. We didn't beat Detroit when we had that game in the waning moments and final stages of that game. We didn't beat teams that we should have beaten in that season. Opportunities gone by the wayside. We didn't lose and missed out on the postseason because of those games down the stretch that Kirk didn't play particularly well in. We missed out on the postseason because we didn't play well in games that we should have won earlier in the season and had golden opportunities to win if some field goals or things could have went better, or if the defense just wasn't the worst in NFL history. So to put things in perspective, I'm sad to see Kirk go. I applaud him, and I am very grateful for the performances and the work and the service that he's provided to this football team, this organization, and this fan base. We won an NFC East chip in 2015 because of Kirk Cousins. He put this team on his shoulders. You like that, and took us all the way to the playoffs. He's given us some memorable games. Seattle this year on the road, beat up by injuries. He played his ass off in that game, made the throw to Josh Doxson to set up the game winner. We all remember the Sunday night game, out-dueling Aaron Rodgers in a windy FedEx Field on a Sunday night in 2016. He's given us some memories. We've had some fun. We had some good times. There were some bad times. But at the end of the day, he was our guy. And it's sad to see him go, but I already saw this coming. So am I surprised? Yeah, I'm surprised the Redskins made the move this early. I thought they might have tried to explore options, but when the seat is hot, and look, the Browns, other teams were interested in Alex Smith, which this deal tells me there were other teams bidding for the services of Alex Smith. The Browns, very interested. The Jets, probably interested. There were other teams like, hey, what I got to give up to get Alex Smith? Redskins said, hey, don't pick up those calls. Don't let that phone ring. You're talking to us right now. Let's make this happen. And they knew Kirk was gone, and they weren't going to match with. He's going to make the most money in NFL history. Now, it's going to be short-lived. Matt Ryan's going to get a deal here soon. Aaron Rodgers is going to get a deal here soon. They're going to overshadow Kirk. But for at least a month, he's going to be the highest paid player in NFL history. And so the Redskins just weren't willing to make him the highest paid player in NFL history. They just weren't going to do it. And so someone else is going to do it. Whether it's Denver, whether it's Cleveland, whether it's Arizona, whether it's the Jets, somebody's going to pay him. Someone's going to break the bank for Kirk Cousins, the Redskins, and I don't blame them. They backed themselves into this corner, and the worst thing you could have done at this point was take a mistake that you created, that you made, and make it worse by giving him a third franchise tag. That would have been absurd. And I never thought that was on the table. We've heard reports. Pro Football Talk, which is a joke, had a report out that the Redskins were seriously considering franchising him for the third consecutive year. I never entertained that thought, and I never thought it was true. Bruce Allen is so fiscally responsible that even Bruce, who we don't agree with a lot of the times, Bruce isn't going to do that with our money. That's one thing we can say is Bruce isn't going to be negligent with the funds. Now, he should have made that deal happen a long time ago, but it was out of being safe, okay? Not negligent with the funds. Bruce isn't going to allow us to give up $34 million under a one-year deal, and after which he's going to be gone again because Kirk doesn't want to be here. Let's face it, he doesn't want to be here. And so he's not going to be here now. Because of this move, we can be insured. And I already knew that, and you already knew that. But this move puts an exclamation point on Kirk Cousins vacating this football team and this roster. And this is a new chapter in the Redskins history as we move forward. 4-year extension. If you haven't heard, Redskins have traded for Alex Smith from the Kansas City Chiefs and have, upon trading for him, already given him a 4-year extension. So what does that say to me? And after I say this, we're going to take some comments from you guys because I know you guys are hungry to talk and chop it up. So what this says to me is that the Redskins, and reportedly, this hasn't been confirmed yet, but reportedly, the Redskins are giving up a second-round pick. Now, is that a 2018 second-round pick? Let's check to see if we've got anything new coming down the pipeline yet. But reportedly, via Adam Schefter, it's looking like a second-round pick. Now, is it this year or next year? Okay, this just in, Chiefs now expected to receive a third-round pick, unidentified player in Alex Smith trade. You know what would be a really smart move on the part of the Redskins? Third round pick, which I love. Now I'm really loving this deal. Third round pick And if you could throw in Bashaud Breeland, that'd be great. Now, I don't know if he's under contract because he's supposed to be a free agent. So I don't think they have the rights to Breeland anymore. I can't think of another player that would fit in to the crowd. He's the only guy that I look at and say, the Chiefs need help at corner desperately. He would have fit a need. They can reach a deal with him. That would have made a lot of sense. But I don't think Bree's under contract anymore. That contract probably expires the turn of the new league year, so maybe the Redskins still have his rights. I doubt that. So unidentified player, I don't know who that could be. But at this point, a third-round pick for Alex Smith, God damn it. This is why you may not like Bruce, but like I said, one thing you won't do to Bruce is fleece him, all right? You won't fleece Bruce Allen. He's not going to overpay. You're not going to get him to give up any picks that he's not supposed to. You say what you want about Bruce Allen. Since he's come on board, we've been more fiscally responsible. We've been more financially sound. That's why we're not dancing around the salary cap every year. We've got over $50 million worth of cap space. You know why? Because Bruce Allen isn't overpaying for guys. Did he overpay for Stacey McGee? Did he overpay last year for McClain? Maybe. Okay. Did he overpay for Sean Laval? Maybe. That's debatable. But guess what? Those weren't egregious deals like Albert Hainsworth, where we're looking at it saying, God damn it, how could you give up that kind of money to a bum that's not even on the roster anymore? It's not those kind of deals being handed out. A third-round pick for a quarterback the caliber of Alex Smith, who still has good football in front of him, is a great deal. And you knew the Chiefs had to give him up. They were ready to turn the page and start the Patrick Mahomes II chapter in KC. So you knew this was going to go down. The second I saw him in week 17 lead them on a comeback drive at the end to win, I said, that's it. The Patrick Mahomes era has begun. Even though they had playoff football still left to play, I said he's going to be their starter next year. Where's he going to end up? The question has been answered. In the nation's capital, in D.C., as the Washington Redskins. So, the report earlier, and again, these stories are going to continue to change because everything is fresh. Everybody's searching for answers. Everybody's picking and probing, trying to get the latest on this deal. So it'll be a second round, and it'll be a third round, and it'll be this guy, and it'll be all this. So right now, the latest report is a third round pick and an unidentified player. I'll take it every day of the week because that is a tremendous trade that allows us to still have our first and second round picks. I love that. And again, this is going to allow the Redskins to build. And I'm going to tell you right now, this doesn't take the Redskins out of the quarterback market per se, but what it does to me, it takes the Redskins out of the quarterback market in the first and the second round. I don't think the Redskins are drafting a first or a second round quarterback at this point. Look for another Nate Sudfeld type, okay? That's what you should be looking for. A mid to late round draft choice at the quarterback position. We're talking 4th, 5th, 6th, 7th round quarterback, a developmental guy to play behind not only Alex Smith and Colt McCoy, but he's not even going to make the roster most likely because you got two veterans that you trust and that can run Jay's system. Much like Nate Sudfeld, he's going to be on the practice squad, okay? A guy that you draft like a Luke Falk that may fall down draft boards, that may not get selected until the 4th or 5th round. You take a Luke Falk, you stash him away on your practice squad, you work with him, you develop him, and maybe you have something in 3 years, 2 years, 3 years from now. So in my mind, because the quarterbacks are going to go so fast, you're talking 4 quarterbacks in the first 12 picks. Redskins are 13th. You could look at upwards of 4 quarterbacks going in the first 12 picks. That means good football players are going to fall. Much like last year. Nobody expected Mitchell Trubisky to go second, Deshaun Watson to get traded up, the Texans to come all the way up from the 20s to get Deshaun Watson, Patrick Mahomes, for the Bills to trade out of 10 and allow the Chiefs to come all the way up from the late 20s to get Patrick Mahomes. Nobody expected all of those quarterbacks to go in the top 10, 13, 14 picks. It's going to be even worse this year because I think 4 quarterbacks could go in the top 12, which means good football players, elite football players are going to fall down the board, which is going to allow the Redskins to really attack and address a position of need, now not needing a quarterback. I think that is huge. Let's get to your comments because I know you guys have a lot to say, and I want to talk about what you guys have to say. I'm going to jump on Twitter as well because I know you guys have a lot to say on Twitter as well. So what I want to do is get to your comments and see what you guys have to say. So we'll start on YouTube and then we'll go and intermingle Twitter as we go through these comments. DC Big Oso Yeah says, and I heard the Chiefs want a 3rd round pick and a player to be named tomorrow. So it doesn't sound like the Redskins are giving up a 2nd and a 3rd. It sounds like it's a 3rd and a player. So this doesn't sound like an and situation. It's 3rd and player, not 2nd and 3rd. It's 2nd or 3rd and an unidentified player to be named later. So I'm hoping it's the latter, a 3rd and a player. And I'll be fine with that. And it's not going to be anybody young. I see somebody up here says Fabian Moreau. No way the Redskins are trading away a guy that they drafted, that they felt like had 1st round grade and talent that they were able to steal in the 3rd round. No way they're trading him away. I can assure you it's not Fab Moreau. That's for sure. The Q-Bone says, I was just talking about Alex Smith's future with my boss last night. And a lot of people were because the Browns' name was the one surfacing as a team potentially in the sweepstakes to get Alex Smith. And wow. Jazzy E says, good to see you, fam. This is wild. I think you called it. I told you I wouldn't mind the Redskins getting Alex Smith. When we had the live feed about a month and a half ago and I opened up the phone lines, I told you guys I thought Alex Smith was a guy that I wouldn't mind having in D.C. And I said it would not shock me if the Redskins traded for him. I didn't know what it would take to get him here. And I didn't expect this to happen this soon. But it doesn't shock me that the Redskins were proactive because they were just at the Senior Bowl. They had a chance to look at some of those quarterbacks. I don't think they were floored by any of them. And they know that those guys are going to go quickly. We've seen draft history. You don't have to be a guy that is in tune and in sync with the NFL, following its every move. All you have to know is that this happens every year with these quarterbacks. We talk about, oh, this guy isn't that good, and this guy has this fault, and this guy can't do this. He's not a pro-style quarterback. He's not ready to start right away, and we see him get pushed up the board every year. This goes all the way back to Jake Locker. Remember that draft in 2010? I believe it was 2010, 2011. Jake Locker, Blaine Gabbert, remember Christian Ponder? We watched all those bums get pushed up. And in a span of like 6 picks, all 3 of them were gone. None of them were any good. We all said it at the time. None of these guys are any good. And all of them were done within the next 5 years. Gabbert hanging on by a thread in Arizona. He's not going anywhere. He's a career backup now. But it happens every year. No one thought Mitchell Trubisky was going to be the 2nd pick overall last year, but he was because he's a quarterback, and everybody needs quarterbacks. We see it every time. Chief Keef says, what player do you think the Chiefs got? I don't know. That's a great question. I don't think it's going to be anybody that the Redskins they value as high. It was somebody that they liked, but they didn't love. You know, there are a number of names to throw out there. I hope it's not Jordan Reed. Obviously, he's a guy that's name has come up quite often this offseason. A lot of fans, he's injury prone. We need to get rid of Jordan Reed. We need to move on. We need to trade him. Could it be Jordan Reed? I know they got Kelsey, but what's better than 1? 2. And if you got 2 beast tight ends, I don't think that's the case. If I had to guess, I would say that it would be maybe a guy like Sua Cravens. That's intriguing. here's an athletic guy, fall out with the Redskins. All right, leaves the team, then has been reportedly cleared to play. Going to come back next year. Redskins have soured on him. I don't know if he still wants to be here. Perfect opportunity to unload a guy with tons of talent on a Chiefs defense that could use another infusion of young talent at a position that they could use some help at safety, with Eric Berry continuously getting injured and that position being okay but not great. He could be their new Daniel Sorensen. Who knows? That's a name that comes to my mind. If I had to guess a guy, I'd say it's Stuart Cravens, but we'll see. Reese says, I think Patrick Mahomes is a beast. The Chiefs better be right, though. They're putting all their eggs in one basket. Well, look, from the minute they traded up with the Texans, with the Bills to get him, Alex Smith's fate was sealed. You knew that was his last year in Kansas City. So they had already put all their eggs in one basket then. And look, quarterbacks, the draft in general, but quarterbacks specifically, always a crapshoot. There's no guarantees when you're talking quarterbacks. So, yeah, they need to get it right, but it's not like Alex Smith was a spring chicken, but the man was coming off statistically one of his best seasons of his career. So you hope they did the right thing, but I think, like you, I think Mahomes is going to be just fine. Mind Draw says, so the Redskins just let Cousins go, or do they tag him and trade him? Well, see, this is the thing. You don't have any leverage now, so you can't tag and trade him. Now, here's the deal. If a team is like, look, we don't want to bid with everybody else, so can we work out a deal? But this is the thing. Nobody wants to give up a first round, because that's what it's going to take. Nobody wants to give up a first round pick when they know you're not keeping him. You're not keeping him. So there's no leverage on the part of the Redskins to say, hey, we'll tag him and keep him unless you trade for him. So I don't see that happening. This move was done proactively by the Redskins in order to allow Kirk Cousins to walk. Now, again, if a team is willing to fork over a first-round pick to make sure that they don't have to go out and play Russian roulette with six other teams for the services of Kirk Cousins, so they don't have to outbid someone else for Kirk Cousins' services, then maybe that's on the table, but I doubt that, seriously, at this point. SoFlo Sports says, now the Dolphins have a shot at Baker Mayfield. Hashtag let's get baked. I don't see it happening. It's amazing how just 6 months ago, Dolphins fans were trying to sell everybody on Ryan Tannehill, and now all of a sudden Baker Mayfield makes one post and everybody in Miami wants Baker Mayfield on their team. That's amazing. KT the Southern Gent says, when did the story drop? Right around 8:45, 9 o'clock. No, right around 9 o'clock Eastern Standard Time is when that story kind of first hit the airwaves. Let's see. Squint says, keeping it moving. Let's see. Steven Gomez says, how do you feel about this? And I pretty much said, I'm totally fine with it. I love the move, actually. I love the move, especially if it's only a third-round pick. I think the Redskins have gotten this right. You backed yourself into a corner. You botched this whole situation 6 ways to Sunday, and this was one of your only options. This was one of your few recourses left, and they got it right, okay? The one thing I didn't want them to do was pay Kirk Cousins $34 million. What I didn't want them to do was give Kirk Cousins a long-term deal that was going to pay him, $29 million per year. I didn't think he was worth that type of money. My stance has always been clear all along. I wanted Kirk Cousins back at a reasonable price. At one point, I was like, look, just slide him a blank check and whatever he puts down, sign it. But that was when the numbers were more reasonable. That was before Derek Carr signed his deal. That was before Matthew Stafford signed his deal. Okay? That was before we franchised him for a second time. When I said that, I thought that he was going to get a deal for $24, $25 million per, not a deal for $29, $30 million per year. That I wasn't willing to cough up for Kirk Cousins. I like Kirk Cousins. Hell, I loved him. I'm not going to sit here and act like I didn't because the man is on his way out. I love Kirk Cousins. I wanted him to stay here. I wanted him to finish his career here. Be the man here. Homegrown, homebred, our stuff, our guy. We drafted him. Stay here. We messed that up. We did that as an organization. We botched it in 2015. We botched it again in 2016. Now you backed yourself into a corner. They got themselves out the best way that they could, and I love it. And the only thing I didn't want to see them do was exacerbate the problem. Look, the first step in the road to recovery is admitting you have a problem. We admitted we had a problem. We fixed the problem. You want to be a bad organization, i.e., I don't want to say the Browns, but the Browns, then you ignore the problem, act as if it doesn't exist, and continue to try to make it right. You continue to try to force that round peg into a square hole. No, we didn't do that. So I love the move. MCGB says, don't resign Pryor and get another receiver. And I think y'all said, well, Pryor's gone. Just like Kirk Cousins is as good as well gone, Terrell Pryor been gone. Thomas S says, do you even like Alex Smith? Yeah. I joke and I kid. Dun, 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 Captain Chapter. But Alex is my guy. And I've said all season long, if you go back and watch my videos in the archives, I've said all season long, I take Alex Smith on my team in a heartbeat. You know, I joke and I kid about him checking it down. He loves to check it down. Let's be frank. He's a great underneath quarterback. He gets the football out of his hands well within the timing and rhythm of the offense. He gives guys a chance with accurate footballs to run after the catch. And the last 2 years with the deep threat in Tyreek Hill, he was stretching the field vertically. So he was starting to debunk the theory of being capped and checked down. Now, deep in his heart, Alex Smith wants to dink and dunk you to death. He wants to nickel and dime you, work his way down the field methodically, and then put it in the end zone after a 13-play, 75-yard drive that just ate up 5 minutes and 16 seconds off the clock. Yeah, that's what he would like to do. But if you give him an opportunity to hit you for a chunk play down the field, he showed the last 2 seasons he's more than willing, able, and capable of striking big when the iron's hot. And I think he can do that in Washington. We just got to go out and get him a guy that can run down the field and stretch the field. So we move on. Mazer _12 says, I don't know how I feel about this move, honestly. That's okay to not know how to feel about this, because some people might say to themselves, well, what's the difference between him and Kirk? He's older. He hasn't won anything. Why should I be excited about this? Here's the reason you should be excited about this. One, it allows us to stay relevant. It allows us a chance to compete in a division where the Eagles aren't going anywhere. The Eagles have one hell of a coach in Doug Peterson and a goddamn MVP caliber quarterback in Carson Wentz. The Cowboys, despite their struggles this year, they got Ezekiel Elliott, who did not play for what was it, 6 games? 5 games this year? Whatever the hell it was, 7? If he plays, they make the playoffs again. And oh, by the way, they got Dak Prescott too. He took a step back this year, but they're just fine because they're going to run the football down your goddamn throat. Okay? So in a division where you've got 2 teams that are going to be good for a very long time, you want to at least remain relevant. Alex Smith gives you the chance to do that. Now, do I want a young, I've said this, I want it young. I wanted my Carson Wentz, my Dak Prescott. I wanted a young guy. The Giants are going to draft a young guy. We're going to be the only team in the division without a young quarterback. I wanted my young guy. And maybe the Redskins are still planning on doing that. I don't see them doing that after a 4-year extension. Okay? Had they got Alex Smith with the 1 year left on his deal and extended him for another 2 years, then maybe I would have said, if they would have ripped that up and said, all right, we'll give you a 2-year extension. Yeah. Okay. At 13, quarterback still in play. because he'll still be looking over his shoulder like he was in San Francisco with Kaepernick, like he was in Kansas City last year with Mahomes. He'll still be looking over his shoulder at a young player. With a 4-year extension? Oh, no. And I'm pretty sure after 3 years, there's an out, most likely. But still, you're not drafting a young guy and giving him a 4-year extension in which that young quarterback's not going to play for at least the next 2 years, because then you won't know what he's going to be by the time he gets a chance to play. And then you'll have to pick up that 5th-year option, and then it'll be sort of like the Robert Griffin III situation, even though we knew what he was at that point. So, in any event, I do like Alex Smith, to answer your question. And you should feel good about this. You don't have to feel great. You don't have to be enthusiastic, jumping off the walls, but you should feel like the Redskins did something that they needed to do, which was at least give themselves a chance to compete next year with the likes of the Eagles, who are in the Super Bowl, with the likes of the Cowboys, who won the division last year and was dominant. They needed to give themselves a chance to compete with the other teams in this division, and going out and getting Alex Smith gives them an opportunity to do exactly that. So I was all in favor of doing this. They did it, and I think it was the right thing to do. And so you don't have to know how to feel, but I'm telling you, you should feel like the Redskins did the right thing here. Because if they didn't, and we drafted a young guy, we were going to start Colt McCoy. Did you really want to start Colt McCoy? I'm going to let you answer that. I can't answer that for you. Cloud says, wow, this was sudden. How did this trade even happen considering the deadline is over? Is it because y'all are already in the offseason? Well, because Alex Smith is still under contract with the Chiefs. That's how this happened. If his contract were expiring this offseason, then we wouldn't have been able to do this. This is why I'm saying Bashaud Breeland would have been perfect, but his deal is up. He's going to be an unrestricted free agent. So that's how this was able to come to fruition, because he's still under contract to the Chiefs, which allowed them the ability to trade his rights to us. So that's how that was able to take place. KT, the Southern gent, says, do you think the Skins? No. Josh Allen won't even be around at 13. So that's definitely not going to be able to happen. Vlad Tepes says, how much of an upgrade is this, in your opinion? I think it's almost a wash. The thing that Alex Smith does that Kirk doesn't do is extend the play. Kirk got better at that this past season. He was extending the play with his legs a lot more, which is what we've been begging for. But it's really a wash. I mean, Kirk has had, more passing yards in his seasons, but Alex Smith is fully capable behind the Redskins' offensive line and being protected of doing what Kirk did in this offense, which is throw for over 4,000 yards. He's going to keep the interception numbers down low, which is what Kirk essentially did. He's going to have some touchdown numbers in the high 20s to low 30s, which is what Kirk was every year. And he's going to distribute the football, get guys the ball in places where they can run after the catch, and give guys an opportunity to make plays. I don't know if it's much of an upgrade, but it keeps the Redskins relevant. It gives them a chance to compete. It gives them a chance to potentially win the division next year or make the postseason. If they have upgrades on defense, if they can upgrade some of the skill positions, if they can get healthy, get Chris Thompson healthy, get Jordan Reed healthy, Josh Dawson continues to progress, you go out and get another receiver, whether that's free agency. And now that you've addressed quarterback, you've got the money freed up, because I can't imagine Alex Smith's 4-year extension being a boatload of money. That gives you an opportunity to maybe chase after Jarvis Landry, or a guy that I think is low-key that no one's talking about, Paul Richardson, who I think gives you the speed element that we're lacking, but also I think can run really precise routes and has tremendous hands out of Seattle. I think there are some options that would allow you to go out there, get a guy, not spend a ton of money if you're not looking to spend on a Jarvis Landry or a Josh Gordon or one of these other guys, Allen Robinson, who's going to cost you an arm and a leg. Allen Robinson's probably going to have to take a 1-year prove-it deal potentially because of the injury. You could go out and get a guy like a P. Rich and not spend a ton of money, but get a damn good football player if he can stay healthy. So we'll see what happens. Buffalo pregame says, crazy night in Washington, State of the Union, and a new QB. My goodness, man. It is crazy indeed. Reese says, just today, Kirk said he'd gladly sign a franchise tag. Redskins were like, child, please. And I saw that. He said, of course he would. That's $34 million. Who wouldn't sign that? I would sign it in a heartbeat. The minute you're slapping on me, where do I sign? That's $34 million. Are you crazy? I'm not turning that down. Kirk Cousins has been blessed the last 2 seasons. He went from making $660K to $19.95 million to then $24 million. Do you know how long it takes guys, quarterbacks in this league, to make that kind of money? Guaranteed. Those were guaranteed dollars. That wasn't guaranteed upon signing and you're over the life of your career and over the life of your contract. Those weren't signing bonuses. He got 2 signing bonuses in consecutive years. Okay? You get $20 million on signing normally. He got that in 1 season and then turned around and got 24 more. So you're telling me you're giving me a chance to get another 34 on top of the 44 that I already got for a whopping total of 78? You think I wouldn't sign that in a heartbeat? Come on, man. Of course he would have signed it. Buffalo pregame says, so do you think Cousins will go to Buffalo? Arizona makes sense to me. I don't know if Buffalo has enough money. You would know better than I do what the Bills situation from a cap standpoint looks like. I actually don't know, so I can't tell you what it looks like. But all I can say is I don't see him going to Buffalo. Look, the word out of the Senior Bowl was that Kirk was going to end up in Denver. That's what everyone was saying. There was a report out of the Senior Bowl that all the rumblings and all of the rumors swirling around the Senior Bowl down in Mobile was that Kirk was going to end up in Denver, that John Elway is doing everything in his power to set up a situation. You've heard the rumors of Aqib Talib being traded. Why do you think that is? They're trying to free up that cap space. They've got a big number at the receiver position in Demaryius Thomas. They may cut ties with him, but if you're going to get Kirk Cousins, he needs targets. That might not be the best thing to do because you get Kirk in there. One of the selling points is, look, you got Demaryius on one side and you got Emmanuel Sanders on the other. We got some good tight ends, young tight ends, and Virgil Green and Hireman, and we got some guys you can throw the football to. So you want to come here. So I don't know if getting rid of him, but Denver, to me, still seems like the most logical landing destination. Cleveland, I wouldn't count them out, but for me, I think it's Denver right now. Let's see. Extreme Archery USA says, hold up, we can still transition tag him and trade. We can still do whatever we want, but the thing is, we don't have any leverage. That's the thing, is that if I know you just traded for Alex Smith, you're not keeping Kirk Cousins. Why would I give you anything for him? He's walking. You're not keeping him. So there's no leverage that the Redskins hold that says, hey, we'll keep him if you don't trade for him. The only leverage that the Redskins have, and really it's not leverage, is if a team says, look, we don't want to get into a bidding war. We don't want to include Arizona and Cleveland and the Jets. If you're Denver, you say, hey, look, we don't want all those other teams involved. So, look, this is what we'll do. We'll give you a 2019 first-round pick for Kirk Cousins. We'll give you a fifth-round pick in the 2018 draft and a first-rounder next year for Kirk Cousins. If you trade him to us, we'll work out the deal, the ramifications of the specifications of the deal. But you go ahead, slap a tag on him, trade him to us. We'll ink this new deal with him, and you'll get your deal. You'll get your picks in return. Because we don't want to worry about how much he could get on the. But Kirk wants to test free agency. He said that all along. So I doubt that Kirk would, because remember, Kirk has to sign off on this. A third franchise tag means that there's a no trade clause there that Kirk Cousins can invoke. So if he says, nope, I'm not going to help you out by allowing you to trade for, get any picks in return for me. I want to go to free agency. I want to test the market. So if you slap this tag on me, you're going to have to pay me $34 million because I'm going to sign it. So Kirk is in control, and he said all along, I want to test free agency. So it wouldn't do him any good to allow the Redskins to slap a tag on him to trade him to Denver. So I just don't see it happening, or any team for that matter. Lorenzo Simpson says, the player to be named is what worries me. In my opinion, I'd like Baker Mayfield to watch for a year. I'm not in love with Baker Mayfield. I don't love Baker Mayfield. I don't understand the love affair with Baker Mayfield. I got to watch more tape, though. So I'm not going to sit here and badmouth him. I haven't watched enough tape. I've watched him play plenty of times. I don't trust quarterbacks coming out of the Big 12, which is why I had my skepticism on Mahomes, but he's a bigger guy, different type of quarterback. Again, Baker Mayfield, he's reportedly 6'1". He's not 6'1", okay? I'm telling you that right now. If he's 6 feet, he's lucky. He looks 5'11" to me. But we'll see what happens with Baker Mayfield. I'm not counting him out. I don't understand the love affair with this guy, but we'll see. Reby says, I was waiting on this one. As an Eagles fan, I would rather face Alex than Kirk. Still not trusting Alex really, but we will see what comes out of this. Wow. Kirk was more likely to shred you with his arm. Alex is more likely to carve you up with your leg. I want a guy that can offer us what Carson Wentz offers you as Eagles fans. The ability to extend the play. And when it looks like all hell is... It looks like everything is going wrong on a play. When it looks like he's about to be sacked, all hell breaks loose because you don't got him. Just like he did with the Redskins where it looked like we had him. All of a sudden, out of the abyss comes Carson Wentz and he breaks our hearts. Runs for like 20-something yards and you end up winning the game going away. And that was the pivotal play of that game. You're looking for a guy to do that. Alex Smith can do that. So we'll see. The Soundwave 92 says, straight up serious. Where does Cousins go from here? Highest current bidders are either Jags, Browns, or Broncos. Maybe Cards. I still think it's Broncos. Like I said, I wouldn't count out the Browns. The Jags have reiterated again today. Report has come out. We're rolling with Blake Bortles. How true is that? I don't know. Because I'm pretty sure if they get an opportunity to upgrade the position, they will. But I don't think the Jags are looking to... They've spent a ton of money the last two off seasons. They don't have as much cap space as they once did. Because of the money they spent the last two off seasons, they don't have a ton of money. So they're not looking to break the bank for a quarterback. If they could get a Teddy Bridgewater, if they felt comfortable with that, they felt comfortable with another guy coming in that they feel like is an upgrade over Bortles, then yeah, they would do that. But I don't see the Jags. I feel like it's the Browns or the Broncos and maybe the Arizona Cardinals. But I really feel like it's Denver's situation to take advantage of, to be honest. L.B. Lucas says, we just have him $70 million guaranteed. I don't know let me check and see if there are any more updates that have come down. So more updates. This just in. Alex Smith will average $23.5 million per year, $71 million guaranteed. So that's a good deal. That's the going rate for an NFL quarterback. And that's the deal they wanted Kirk to take. And Kirk was like, no, I'm not taking that deal. I'm worth more than that. Alex Smith was like, I'm cool with that. That's good money for me. I'm not greedy. And I'm not saying Kirk is. Kirk almost threw for 5,000 yards. Alex Smith has never come close to throwing for 5,000 yards. Okay? Kirk Cousins has thrown for 1,300 yards over the last 3 seasons. Over 13,000, excuse me, not 100, 13,000 yards, including falling just short of 5,000 2 seasons ago. Like, the man has broken every Redskin quarterbacking record conceivable to mankind. So he wanted to get paid. I don't blame him. But Alex Smith, 4 years, averaging $23.5 million. So let me do the math in my head. That's 80 times 4. That's $94 million. 4 years, $94 million, 71 of it guaranteed. So it's a nice chunk of change of that guaranteed. What are you talking about? 70 of 90. You're looking at about a good 70% of that contract being guaranteed, fully guaranteed to Alex Smith. So I don't have a problem with that at all. That's good money. It's right around what they wanted to pay Kirk, and you're getting a guy that's going to be very comparable to Kirk Cousins. I can't hate on Bruce Allen for this. I can't. Paris Holland says, why not bring in Colin Kaepernick? No. He doesn't fit what we do, and he doesn't represent what the Redskins organization represents. It'd be one thing if we had that mold of quarterback on our team. Like, I feel like Kaepernick should be in the league, first and foremost. I've said this before. And I don't want to turn this into a Colin Kaepernick discussion, but there were places where he fit. Tennessee had an injury to Mariota during the season. Would have been a great fit there. Houston was dying for a quarterback. They had Deshaun Watson on their roster. To me, like hand in glove. There were options for Kaepernick, and nobody bit. So the Ravens were the closest, but not in DC. He doesn't fit what we do. Cloud says, after Sunday, my man Nick Foles is next. Time to rake in some draft capital. Hashtag holding Foles for the Browns. He's got 1 year on his deal left, 2 years actually, but the Eagles, or I think Eagles or Foles, one or the other, can get out of the deal after 1 more year. But in any event, after this play, Foles may get another shot. He may get another shot. We'll see what happens. So Matt Rosario says, I am a Cowboys fan and a lifetime Redskins hater, but this is a bad trade. Cousins is far better player than Smith, especially the way he played this season. Cousins is, to me, a better player, and he was in the prime of his career. Alex Smith may be in the prime of his career. He just had the best season of his career, but he's older than Cousins. But what I like about Alex Smith is that he's more cost-effective for the Redskins. We've already seen that by the deal that he's already agreed to. That's one. Two, he can do a lot of the things Kirk Cousins can do. A lot of them. And three, he's better at extending the play. And when you get into the red zone, extending the play is the biggest thing because the field is condensed. You got to be able to make plays with your legs. Kirk Cousins wasn't always willing to do that. Smith is, and so he's a threat to run it in the red zone. It keeps the read option that Jay Gruden likes to run alive and well. And it also gives defenses another thing that they've got to entertain because Alex Smith will be a part of the Redskins' run game. They're not going to ask Alex Smith to run it a ton, but he's a threat. Kirk Cousins, even though he was athletic enough to do it, he wasn't really a threat. No one was afraid of Kirk Cousins' legs because he didn't use them enough. Smith will. So, while I hear what you're saying, if you're talking more of a natural, pure passer, yeah, that's Kirk Cousins. But if you're talking about a guy that's a playmaker, that can go out and make plays, Alex Smith is the guy. So I don't hate this trade. I think this is a good move for the Redskins. In the situation that we were in, I'll tell you this. It stops the Redskins from having to draft a quarterback at 13 when there's not going to. And this is the thing. I wanted a quarterback at 13 if the one I wanted was available. I'm here to tell you the one that I wanted isn't going to be available at 13. Because 4 quarterbacks are going in the first 12 picks. 4 could go off the board in the first 5. Think about that for a second. Now, with Kirk Cousins definitely being available and the Broncos being the lead candidate, if they get a quarterback, the Browns aren't drafting 2 quarterbacks. So 3 quarterbacks in the first 5 picks. And then you're going to see another quarterback come off the board before the Redskins go at 13. So I can't tell you that I don't love this. I actually love this move by the Redskins. Love it. Reese says, man, this changes everything. The draft will play out totally differently. It happened so quickly. I know. That's the crazy part. It's like there was no discussion of this. There was no talk. This was, hey, Alex Smith available. Browns very intrigued. Redskins in. Alex Smith to the Skins. 4-year extension. $94 million, $71 guaranteed. Damn. And you know what happened? they got up with each other at the Senior Bowl. That's why it happened so quick. They were all in Mobile. They had a discussion. They continued that discussion, and that's how it happened so quickly. It's not a coincidence that everybody was up in Mobile for the Senior Bowl, and this thing happens a couple days later. Not a surprise. KT, the Southern gent, says, do you think your coach is on the hot seat this year? No, I don't think he's on the hot seat this year. But I do think that it was important for him to win, because you draft a young quarterback, you play Colt McCoy, and Jay keeps saying, we believe in Colt McCoy. I know that Colt McCoy can run my offense. Yeah, Colt can run your offense. How effectively is he going to run it? Can he stay healthy? And how many games is he going to win you? He's Colt McCoy. They understand that. If they had that much confidence in Colt McCoy, do you think they make this move? No. They draft a young quarterback and they start Colt McCoy. But because they know Colt McCoy is a backup for a reason, they made this move. So Jay knew. I don't necessarily know if he was on a hot seat, but if you start Colt McCoy, he stinks it up, then gets injured, and then you got to play some bum, or you got to play a guy that you had no intentions of playing, and the Redskins go 3-13, 4-12, 5-11, and look ugly in doing so, Jay Gruden could conceivably be fired. Absolutely. But do I think he's a guy going into the season, Jay Gruden, watch out, could get fired? Nah, I don't think that's the case. Reby says, who's the quarterback for the Chiefs? I'm sure you may have answered this by now. Patrick Mahomes, the second. They drafted him in the first round. They traded up with the Bills last year in the draft, all the way up to number 10 to select Patrick Mahomes, the second quarterback out of Texas Tech. He started the final game of the season on the road versus Denver, led a game-winning drive at the end to win that game. And it was a meaningless game, but still meant something to him for his first career start to be able to do that. They're sold on him. They loved him in the preseason. They love what he brings to the table. He's the future in Kansas City. That's why we knew they were going to make a deal. We knew Alex Smith was going to be available. We just didn't know where he was going to end up. Moving right along. The Cubone says, not Redskins related, but how comfortable are you with Mahomes starting for Kansas City? I like what I saw from him last year. He's going to make mistakes. He's a young guy. He's going to make mistakes. And he's a gunslinger. He trusts his arm more so than he should sometimes. So he's going to make mistakes. Mistakes are going to be made. But that being said, they think that this guy, much like Kaepernick did in San Francisco in relief of Smith, they think Mahomes can get him over the top where Alex Smith necessarily couldn't. That's always been the thing with Alex Smith. He's good enough to get you there, but he's not good enough to get you over the top. And I think if this incarnation of Alex Smith was in San Francisco, they would have won a Super Bowl. Because he wasn't this good in San Francisco. He wasn't ready to lead them to a Super Bowl. That's why they had to insert Colin Kaepernick. I think he was good enough to get it done in Kansas City. By the time he got good enough, that defense was atrocious in Kansas City. That was the problem. The defense in San Francisco was dominant and elite. And if he was as good as he is now, then they would have won a Super Bowl with Alex Smith. But the minute he got good in Kansas City, that defense fell the hell apart. They're not the same group they were when Alex Smith wasn't there. The season before he got there, even that first year Smith was there, that defense was dominant. The last 2 years of Alex Smith in Kansas City, that defense was trash. And so he's walking into another situation where the defense isn't very good. He's going to have to play well to give him a chance. I think he's fully capable. If the Redskins want to win, it's the same thing with Kirk Cousins. We felt like Cousins wasn't good enough to win by himself. You need surrounding pieces to support him. You need the defense to be good. Doesn't have to be great, just good enough. Well, our defense hasn't been good enough. It has been trash and it has been poor with Kirk Cousins. Despite Kirk almost throwing for 5,000, despite Kirk throwing for over 4,000, 3 years in a row, defense hasn't been good. So Alex Smith going to have to come in, do the same thing Kirk Cousins did, and the defense has to play better. Lorenzo Simpson says, more money to spend to solidify the defense. First step, sign Zac Brown. Agreed. They already signed Mason Foster, which I loved. Now you got to go and sign your other one in Zac Brown. But I'm going to tell you right now, they look at Zac Brown And I think they want to see what the market is for him. And if he gets a lot of money, they'll treat him like Pierre Garçon. If you get a ton of money, hey, man, we appreciate your services. Go get your bread, man. Go get your bread. But if it's not what you like out there, hey, we would love to have you back at a reasonable price. Zac Brown is a liability in the pass game. And I think the Redskins, because of that, remember, that was his problem in Buffalo. They would take him off the field on third downs because he was a liability. Guy's a tackling machine. I love his speed. There's a place for him on our roster. I want him. But I think the Redskins are looking at him like, you're not a 3-down linebacker, so we don't want to pay you as such. And he's like, bro, why are you disrespecting me like that? Remember the tweet we saw? He was talking to the Redskins. I know some people are like, he didn't say Redskins. Why are you making assumptions? No, when dudes subtweet, they do it for a reason. He subtweeted. That was at the Redskins. But he did it in a subtle way. That was a shot at the Redskins, basically saying, hey, I got disrespected in free agency last year. Y'all going to disrespect me again? And the Redskins are like, yeah, pretty much. If somebody's going to pay you, go get your bread. If not, we'd love to have you back at a reasonable price. So we'll see what happens. Now, I see a comment here, and so now all the rumors are going bananas. Kendall Fuller is saying he doesn't know if he's been traded despite the rumors that he's the guy that's been included in the deal. I can't imagine the Redskins trading one of the best slot corners in all of football, and a guy that I think they are confident in the wake of Bashaud Breeland most likely moving on in free agency. As I'm looking at my timeline here, I can't imagine that the Redskins would trade away a guy that they envision starting for them next season at the cornerback position. Now, I've heard some people say it's Josh Norman. With the way he played this season, especially at the back end of the year with the kind of money he's due, that wouldn't shock me. But if you're going to do that, then you better be able to re-sign Bashaud Breeland. Like, you can't start a second-year guy in Fab Moreau. I know you re-signed Q-Bar and you feel like he can do it, and you still would have Fuller. But to let both of your starting corners from a season ago go, essentially, trade one away, let one walk in free agency, you're taking the position that we had the most depth, the one position that we thought we were very strong at, and you're now making it somewhat of a liability. I actually like Hosley, the rookie that we drafted in the 7th round out of Auburn as well. I like Joshua Halsey as well. So we got depth at the cornerback position, but make no mistake about it. The one position that we could afford to trade someone at, that's why I threw Breeland out first, is corner, but I don't want it to be. I would rather it be Norman. To be honest with you, I would rather it be Norman than Fuller. That's just how I'm feeling. Fuller's younger. He has not hit his prime yet. We're paying Norman a ton of money. I think Norman's good. I don't think he's great. So if you're asking me, I'd much rather it be Norman than Fuller. That's just me. Norman's older. He may have already hit his prime already. Norman's a hell of a football player. And I still want him to be a Redskin. But if you're making me choose, take Norman. Don't take Fuller. He's cheaper, he's younger, and I think he's got his best football still in front of him. Don't take Fuller from me. That young man's got baller written all over him. So if it ain't Sua Cravens, if it's not Josh Norman, it better not be Kendall Fuller. That's all I know. So now you know the rumors are going to start flying because it's an unidentified player and everybody's going to try to figure out who that player is. So I'm going to keep checking my phone and checking to see what's going on. Everyone is going off on Twitter about the deal. I wouldn't mind if it was Samaje Perine. I know they don't have a running back issue in Kansas City. They got a ton of backs. I wouldn't mind if we threw in Samaje Perine's ass and drafted a new back. But they don't want Samaje Perine. So, and you can't just pawn off your trash on somebody else. That's not how it works. But anyway, and that's a harsh word. Samaje Perine's not trash. I never wanted him in the first place. He's a solid back, but he's not a number one back in this league. Anyway, let's keep it moving. The Soundwave says, who do you see the Redskins drafting now with Smith being under contract? Hard to say. I got to look at these players. I got to look at where everybody is going to fall. I got to look at, and again, I don't like projecting what teams are going to do until free agency hits, because we can sit here, and this is why, like, oh, Redskins going to get a quarterback. Remember, the first mock draft that everybody had coming out, Baker Mayfield to the Redskins at 13. Is Baker Mayfield still going to the Redskins at 13 now? Hell no. Baker Mayfield may not even fall to 13, but we definitely not drafting a quarterback now. So this is why free agency, to me, is the first key. It's the first domino before you can really start putting out tangible mock drafts. Because you could need a receiver, and then you go out and get Jarvis Landry in free agency. All of a sudden now you're not drafting a first-round receiver anymore. You just went out and spent money on a guy in Jarvis Landry. So you don't know until after free agency. So hard for me to say. DeParis Weaver says, man, I can't be happier as an Eagles fan. Smith is okay, but I don't fear him like I feared Cousins. Be careful what you wish for. You just might get it. So we'll see. Everybody, Eagles fans, Cowboys fans, everybody all elated that we got Alex Smith. Alex Smith will dig in your ass. So we'll see. Okay? Cousins, I love the fact that you respected Cousins, but you need to respect Alex Smith as well. But I'm not going to tell you that. Those who don't hear, feel. I'm not going to keep telling you nothing. Just let you see for yourself. DC Big Oso says, I agree with you, Louie. Jay Gruden has to win, but we ain't winning nothing if we don't tighten up the O-line and the D-line, especially the D-line. I don't think the O-line is that broken. Couple pieces here or there. Figure out what we're going to do with Spencer Long. Is he back? Is he not back? And Sean Laval needs to be replaced. You figure out what you're going to do with those two positions. And we got a replacement for one. We love Chase Rouillet, our 5th-round pick out of Wyoming last year. I thought he played well, and I think they love him at center. And so I think you got a center. The question is, what do you do? Do you re-sign Spencer Long and put him at right guard? We'll see. Ed says, this caught me by surprise. It caught everybody by surprise, even Redskins fans. Captain Spartan 04 says, I don't think Alex Smith is excited to be back in the NFC, really, especially with how loaded it is. I disagree with that. I don't think he cares where he goes as long as he gets an opportunity to start, not have to look over his shoulder, which he won't in Washington. And he's shown the type of love and respect that he hasn't been shown throughout his career, and he's going to get that in D.C. So, excuse me. We'll see. Reese says, random question. I'm curious to know your opinion. What qualities does Jay Gruden share with his brother, and also how different is he? Well, both of them are extremely confident. Both of them are great offensive minds. Both of them are very enthusiastic about the game of football. They have different personalities, though. You know, John is a lot more fiery. He's a lot more in your face. He's a lot more no nonsense. Jay is a little bit more laid back. He's more funny. We all remember the whole nipple twisting situation with Deshaun Jackson. You can't do that with John Gruden. He's not playing that shit with you. Whereas with Jay's like, he's an easygoing guy. Like, John Gruden is the kind of guy that if you go out to dinner with him, you're going out to dinner with him because you're talking football. Jay is the kind of cat you call up like, hey, Jay, let's go have a couple of beers and shoot a couple rounds of golf. John isn't that dude. He's a little bit more high strung. Jay's a lot more laid back. Now, you could argue that's why Jay doesn't win, because in this league, we've seen dictators win. Bill Belichick has proven that. All right. You look at Doug Marrone in Jacksonville. There's a reason that ship got turned around as quickly as it did. Okay. We love the Gus Bradleys, the rah-rah guys, but they don't win. The only one of those guys that we've seen win is Pete Carroll. And even he's got shit going on the sidelines. Players telling him what he should and shouldn't do. It seems like they got an altercation on the sidelines every other week. Normally in this league, dictatorship wins. The Bill Parcells, the Bill Belichick's, the Doug Marrone's, and I hate to put Marrone in that category, but look, Jacksonville was a perennial loser. He comes in, He tells them, we're taking the ping pong tables, the music, we're playing musical chairs at the locker room. We taking all the shit that made y'all comfortable enough to think that it was okay to go 4-12. We getting rid of that shit, and we changing the culture. The veterans didn't like it. He said, trust me, it's going to work. Just give me a chance. They gave him a chance. It worked. They were in the AFC Championship game. Dictatorship wins in this league. Jay Gruden is not, John Gruden is, and that's the difference between the two. And so we'll see if Jay's style, because we've seen a guy win with Jay's style, Pete Carroll. But those guys are few and far between. SW Mike says, well, this move changes the Redskins for the bad or for the good. I think it's looking a little grim for our burgundy and gold. I don't agree. I don't agree. I don't understand why y'all think this is so much of a downgrade. I don't understand what you guys... Do you understand that Alex Smith was, at one point in this season when they were 6-1, he was the MVP of the league? Do you understand what I'm saying to you right now? Listen to what I'm saying. At any point in Kirk Cousins' career, has the words MVP, most valuable player, and Kirk Cousins been mentioned in the same sentence? Ever. Alex Smith, at one point in 2017, was viewed as an MVP candidate. Go look at his numbers. They're very comparable to Kirk Cousins. He does not have a ton of weapons in Kansas City. Now, he doesn't have a ton in Washington either, which puts me a little bit at ease knowing he didn't have a ton in Kansas City. He still made it work because he's not going to have a ton in Washington. So I don't understand where you guys are coming from. You can't be watching the same football I'm watching because Alex Smith is playing some of the best football of his career. Right now, we got him at the right time. I don't know. KT the Southern Gent says, I read on a local blog site y'all might trade prior to the Saints for a mid-round pick. Your thoughts? If we could get anything for Terrell's ass, and again, Terrell was on a one-year deal, so we don't have the rights to him. So I can't see us trading him anywhere. He's going to hit the streets. Nobody wants to trade anything for Terrell Pryor. If you want him, he's yours. Sign him once free agency hits. Cloud says, y'all going to have to get a really good running back if you want Smith to thrive. We need a really good running back anyway. We already got one in Chris Thompson, though. But we need one anyway. This wasn't if Alex Smith or Kirk. Both of them need a good running back. We've needed a good running back in D.C. We haven't had one since Clint Portis. And I know a lot of people like Alfred Morris. Alfred Morris was the product of a system implemented by the Shanahans to help enhance Robert Griffin III. When they took away the system, Alfred Morris was just another guy. Just another guy. That's why they let him walk to Dallas. He's played well for the Cowboys, and I'm happy for him. But he was never that guy. We need that guy in D.C., and we can get him in this draft. There's gonna be some spectacular backs available. Soundwave says, thoughts on Dan Snyder not changing the Skins name. You said it best. I thought it was a non-issue, honestly. It is a non-issue. I don't even feel the need to have to talk about it. It's nothing to talk about. So hence, I'm not going to. Just want to check quickly to make sure nothing has changed. Nothing has changed. So it says the Browns tried to make Alex Smith their franchise QB with the deal with the Chiefs before he was dealt to us. And I guess the Redskins either had a better package or Alex Smith was like, don't send me to Cleveland, which normally the players don't. Unless they have a no veto, no trade clause where they can veto a trade, they don't really have any say-so. I have to assume the Redskins package was better. Or they simply said, we don't want him to stay in the AFC. We much rather deal him to an NFC team. One in which we just played, so we won't have to play them for another 4 years unless we meet them in the Super Bowl. That's part of the thought process, too. You don't want to trade a guy away to a team that you may have to see every year for the next 4 or 5 years. You don't want to do that. So that goes into it too. But again, if the Browns were offering a ridiculous package, who gives a shit? You trade them to the Browns and you get a first round pick and you get a second round next year. Again, we don't know what the deal was, but Redskins beat them to the punch, whatever it was. KT the Southern Gent says, Alex Smith reminds me of Jim Plunkett as far as the way their careers panned out, i.e. consistently moving around. I hope he has a Jim Plunkett-like finish to his career where he wins a Super Bowl. Let me be the beneficiary of that. Wasn't Plunkett a number 1 pick overall by the 49ers? Then he went to the Patriots. Then he went to the Raiders where he finally panned out and won a Super Bowl. Let me be, this is his third team. If you want to compare the two, let me be that guy. Alex Smith was the first overall pick, much like Plunkett. So I think there is a little bit of a comparable, but Alex Smith was better than Plunkett was in, I believe it was San Francisco, or was it New England? One or the other. And then he went to the next team, and then he ended up in Oakland where he won. Either way, let's keep it moving. That is a good analogy, though. Andrew Kim says, so he's basically giving you the numbers that I've already given you, but just to recap it for those of you who have gotten here late and don't know the monetary value of the extension that Alex Smith received from the Redskins upon being traded, he's going to make $23.5 million per, which over 4 years, which equals out to $94 million, which I did the math on air. 4 years, $94 million, $71 million of it guaranteed dollars. And so Andrew Kim says, that's expensive for a guy that age. So I don't know about giving him the 4-year extension. So now it's a third, not a second from Schefter. Right. So 33 isn't that old for quarterbacks. As you can see, you look around the NFL, how old is Roethlisberger? How old is Rivers? How old is Eli Manning? How old is Tom Brady? 33. These guys are, look at Aaron Rodgers. Aaron Rodgers is like 33 years old. If I'm not mistaken, Smith and Rodgers came out in the same draft. Remember, the debate was Smith or Rodgers. They're the same age. Would you not give Aaron Rodgers? You think the Packers aren't going to give Aaron Rodgers a new 5-year deal, make him the richest quarterback in NFL history? What's the difference? They're the same age. They still got the same amount of football left in them. Now, you could argue Rodgers sat on the bench for a few years. There's a lot more tread left on those tires. I'll grant you that. But bottom line is these NFL quarterbacks are protected by the rules more so now than they ever have been in the past. And so because of that, these guys can play a lot longer. I don't think the Redskins intend on Alex Smith playing a full 4 years. 3 years is what I think, and then they'll probably have drafted somebody by then. But in any event, let's go to Twitter. I've neglected Twitter for too long, and I think somebody might have sent me something that is pertinent. I just seen a link that has me intrigued. So let me take to Twitter, see if I can get anything. This is from Grant Paulson. You know, he works for the Fan in D.C., says, Kendall Fuller is now telling his teammates that he's heading to the Chiefs in the Alex Smith deal. He was one of the last people to find out. I hope that is not true, but that has been tweeted out 15 minutes ago. So if that's true, I'm disappointed. I'm really, really disappointed because I was excited about the progress he had made as a Redskin. And if giving up Kendall Fuller is the difference between Redskins having to part ways with the second or third, I would have much rather just given up the second round pick. I'm going to be honest with you. Kendall, and I know they signed Quentin Dunbar and they like Moreau and you still got Josh Norman and they like Joshua Halsey, and I do too. But Fuller, he looked like he had a chance to be special. And if they gave him up, they're going to regret that. I hope that's not true, but if he's telling his teammates he's been traded and he was the last to find out about it, it sounds like he's been traded. Guys don't tell their teammates, hey, man, it's been fun. I'm out. I'm heading to KC. I got traded. You don't tell guys that unless you know something. So that that pisses me off a little bit, actually. But this is frustrating. At Amen Garg 2310 says, does this mean Cousins to the Browns? They got a shot. They were all in on Alex Smith, so now I think the backup plan was all in on Cousins. They knew they could get Smith for a lot cheaper than Cousins. It would allow them to not have to spend the first or the fourth overall pick on a quarterback. It would have then allowed them to then go and draft Saquon Barkley and then draft a guy like, Bradley Chubb out of NC State. And boom, your defense, which was already really good, it has gotten that much better. You've gotten a stud running back, and all of a sudden now you're ready to take that next step. So I think the Browns, to me, the two front runners are the Browns and the Broncos. Those are the two teams I think are in a position to draft or get Kirk Cousins in free agency. Let's see. All right. So there's really nothing else on Twitter. Everybody else just pretty much wanting to know how I felt. And let's see. Mind Draw says, you like Alex Smith, but do you love him? Love is a strong word. I could grow to love Alex Smith. I don't love him from afar, though, no. I like Alex Smith a lot, and I think he can do a lot of the same things that Kirk Cousins did in his offense. So I like him enough to feel like he gives us a shot. Do I love him? No. Love's a strong word, and I have to grow to love you. Like, I don't love anybody that comes to the Redskins right off the bat. You have to show that you can earn my trust, respect, loyalty, and then love comes down the road. So no, I don't love Alex Smith in his game right now. I like it a lot. I like it a lot, though. Okay, I feel good about him in this offense, and I feel good that Jay Gruden is paired with him because I feel like Jay Gruden can take anybody, Andy Dalton, Kirk Cousins, Alex Smith, and make them good. And Alex Smith has proven that he can play, and Jay Gruden, I think, is going to do a good job of getting him to play well in his system in DC. So, let's see. Sam Johnston says, I'm a Chiefs fan, and Alex Smith did a lot of good work for us. I'm sure he will do a pretty good job for the Skins. Excited to see Patty Mahomes, though. A lot of Chiefs fans were ready for that, and he did do a lot of good things for you, and I think he's going to do the same for the Redskins. The question is, can the defense be better? Can the Redskins get a run game and help Alex Smith assimilate to this team, division, and conference in enough time to help this team win some ball games and make it to the postseason? Use the hashtag LouieTLive if you want your comment read. I see a comment up here that I just want to make mention of, even though they didn't use the hashtag. Buddy Christ says, great pickup. Cousins and Smith are interchangeable. Smith is cheaper. That's pretty much what I've been talking about for the last hour, is that they're comparable quarterbacks. Cousins may be a little bit better in terms of a pure passer. The numbers reflect that, but they're one and the same. Smith offers you more with his legs. Cousins may offer you a bit more with his arm. But at the end of the day, they're comparable quarterbacks, highly accurate, good completion percentage. They take care of the football, high touchdown to complete interception ratio, and Smith is much cheaper. So, and I've basically been saying that. So, I got a tweet that I want to read here. DC Big Oso says, the good thing about this deal, we can build a team around Alex Smith. You can. Now, I still want a young quarterback, but we don't need one right now. The emphasis isn't, got to get a quarterback. like it was before this trade. Now you can actually look to build the roster and not have to worry about a quarterback for another 2 seasons. Let's see. BK Soldier says Kirk Cousins equals Jacksonville. I just don't see the Jaguars spending the type of money that it's going to take. They don't have a ton of cap space anymore like they have had the past 2 seasons. So I don't see that being the case. At Redskins Recon says, I didn't see Fuller at the Pro Bowl. Come on, man. I can find corners. We have some pretty good ones sticking around. This he said this is about a team-friendly cap number at quarterback who has the potential to get us that ring. Lament if you want, but this had to happen for us to progress. You can't find corners anywhere. Don't make the mistake of thinking that that's the case. Look around the league and see how bad the cornerback position is. Much like the quarterback position, the cornerback position is another one where teams search every year to find quality corners to play the position. It's a passing league. You need 3 to 4 good corners to be viable, and we just gave up one of the better ones. Yes, I'm going to lament over that. Yes, it's about getting a quarterback under a cap-friendly number, which I'm all for, but not at the expense of trading away Kendall Fuller. You could have given up a second-round pick. If that was the deal breaker, and it probably was. It sounds like the Browns wanted to give up some stuff, and the Redskins said, hey, we'll throw in Kendall Fuller. This guy's a stud. He's got so much potential. We'll throw him in to sweeten the deal to get you to say yes. If that's what they had to do, they had to do it. I don't love that decision. That's me. I cannot love it. You can love it. I'm going to lament that because I saw potential in him. And this is the problem that I have with our Redskins, is that every time we see a player developing, for some reason or another, something goes awry. Okay? Whether it's homegrown product, not re-signing here, and I hate to go back to the Ryan Clark, Antonio Pierce, guys that were good players for us that should have been in DC. Pierre Garçon, even though they didn't want to pay him the type of money that he ended up getting in San Francisco. Those are guys that should have been on the roster. When you let guys like that go, it impacts your roster. And he's a young guy in the second year, going into the third year of a 4-year deal. So you would have had 2 more years of him playing good football for us. Then you would have potentially been able to re-up. I don't love this. I don't love it at all. But it is what it is, man. I mean, if that's what they had to do, they did what they had to do to get a quarterback. And at the end of the day, I've said this 1,000 times. I'll continue to say it till my face turns blue. If you don't have a quarterback, you don't have a chance in this league. Alex Smith gives us a chance. And if that meant having to part ways with Kendall Fuller, that's what they had to do. I don't love it, though. I do not love that at all. That one stings. Like I said, I would have rather given up Josh Norman. Honestly, I would have rather given up Norman than give up Kendall Fuller. In any event, so it seems that the report is it's Kendall Fuller, and I'm not too enthused about that, but we'll see what it is, man. It's not official, but boy, it's starting to sound more and more like it's Kendall Fuller. That's for sure. Skull Candy TV says Alex Smith has been underrated his whole career. What I'm worried about is his wide receiver core. Likewise, that he didn't have much of a receiving core in Kansas City, but he did have Tyreek Hill. We don't have a Tyreek Hill on our team. So he did have Tyreek Hill. We have a Travis Kelce, but our Travis Kelce doesn't stay healthy. in Jordan Reed. So there are targets. Jordan Reed, when healthy, Vernon Davis, Chris Thompson, if he can come back healthy. There are targets. They're just not as many as we would like it to be. I hesitate to name Josh Doxson in that mix. Ryan Grant is a free agent. So, Jamison Crowder is a target. So there are guys there, but they got to improve, man. They got to improve that group. They got to get a run game. They got to improve the skill positions if they want Alex Smith to succeed. But it's going to be easier for them to achieve this with the money that they're going to be able to allocate to other resources now that they've gotten Alex Smith. Like I said, I love the move. I don't love what they had to potentially give up, but it was choose your poison, okay? You had 3 options. Not get Alex Smith, which it hurts me to say this, but that wasn't an option. You had to do this. If giving up Kendall Fuller meant that was the only way you were going to get Alex Smith, then you got to do what you got to do. I don't love it. I don't have to love it, but I understand it. 2, give up a second instead of a third and give up somebody else and not give up Kendall Fuller. I didn't want to give up a second rounder, but I would have much rather parted with the second than Kendall Fuller. And then 3rd, not give up Kendall Fuller at all and not get Alex Smith. So, not get Alex Smith, give up Kendall Fuller in the 3rd round pick, which it seems is going to be the case. More details will come out tomorrow about the finality of the deal and what's the terms of the agreement. Or 3, don't give up Kendall Fuller, but give up a 2nd rounder instead. I don't know. A little salty about that, but you got to do what you got to do. So, let's check. Yeah, it's Kendall Fuller, basically. I mean, Bleacher Report basically just said Fuller finally told of trade. He was one of the last people to find out about getting traded to the Chiefs. So it is, in fact, Kendall Fuller. That breaks my heart, but it had to be done. You got to get a quarterback. I don't love the fact that we traded away a young, budding star. I thought he was a young, budding star. He led our team in interceptions this year for a reason. But if it had to be done, I guess. I don't love that, though. I don't love it at all. I'm really disappointed in that, but that's business. So you do what you got to do. David Johnson says, giving Alex Smith $23.5 million per immediately after trading for him is an insult to Kirk. You did not draft him nor spend the necessary resources to develop him. But that's the thing. Kirk wasn't going to take $23.5 million a year. Kirk wasn't going to take 4 years, $94 million. That ship sailed last year. Okay? The Redskins could have gotten Kirk for $48 million guaranteed, 72 total after the 15 season. That's what he was asking for. Last year, 4 over 94 would have gotten the deal done with Cousins, with 71 guaranteed. That would have gotten the deal done. This year, no, you wouldn't have got that. It's going to take over $100 million, really over $120 million, and it's got to be close to 30, if not 30 per. It's going to be 28, 29, 30, somewhere in there for Kirk Cousins. So you just weren't going to get that deal with Kirk. And that was the difference. Mazer _12 says, Kendall Fuller is a Chief now. Yeah, it's pretty much a done deal. That sucks. Not going to lie to you. It sucks. But we'll see. DC Big Oso says they should draft the guy from Western Kentucky, talking about the quarterback. And that may be an option later on in the draft. So we'll see what happens. All right, let's get to some more comments. See, damn. How many comments did we skip? Did we skip that many? Anyway. Captain Spartan 04 says, just put tape over your prior jersey and make it a Smith. The Stoner Club says, we need a corner now. We got robbed by Andy Reid. We don't need a corner. I think that's why they felt like they could part ways with him. That's why they re-signed. Q-Bar, Dunny, because you got Dunny, you have Josh Norman, and you still have Halsey, and you have Fabian Moreau. So they still like their depth at the cornerback position. I wouldn't be shocked if they took a corner mid to late rounds, another developmental guy like Halsey. But this one stings. I'm not going to lie to you. Kendall Fuller was one of the best slot corners in all of football this year. And because he's not a household name and because we weren't a good defense, no one knew what he was doing. But, it is what it is. I'm not totally sold on that move from that standpoint, but I understand why they did it. I don't know if that's going to prompt us to go and draft a corner now. We'll see. I think they love Fab Moreau. You got Josh Norman for another 3 years. Q-Bar played well when thrusted into action, and I like Halsey. I told you that already, so we'll see. Mr. TNA says, who do you think will sign Cousins? Jets, Broncos, or Browns? I told you, it's a two-team race for me, Broncos or Browns. Some dark horse like Arizona could come out of the woodworks, but for me, it's between those two. The Stoner Club says, we need to boycott Bruce Allen out of here. He's not going anywhere. KT the Southern Gent says, disagree. Tony Dungy wasn't high-strung. Tony Dungy wasn't a huge disciplinarian, but he wasn't a pushover either. Don't let the nice guy facade fool you. Tony was a nice guy, though. And that was part of the reason that they brought in John Gruden and they won in Tampa after he left. Is because they needed that edge to push him over the top. He was too nice. Dictators win in this league. Now, yeah, Tony ultimately won in any event. Dictators win in this league. Bottom line. So, let's keep going. Andrew Kim says, I think I can see Josh Jackson in a Redskins uniform. Corner from Iowa. That's too high for the Redskins to take a corner. I don't think the trading of Kendall Fuller means the Redskins need a new corner. Like, they have 3 guys that they think can start, and they like Joshua Halsey, our 7th-round pick out of Auburn. I still think it's a lot of depth at that position. Even with Fuller and Breland exiting, they still have 4 corners on the roster that I think they really like. And, yeah, they may add another corner. I just think it's going to be later in the draft, not in the first round. But, again, when you're picking as high as we are in the draft, you take the best player available, and you find somewhere for him to fit on the field. And if that's Josh Jackson at 13, so be it. Captain Spartan 04 says, would Fuller stay in the slot at KC or would he be on the outside? Just thinking about their corner situation, boy, did they struggle in the slot last year. Eric Berry does a really good job in the slot when healthy. And I think what they ultimately do is put him on the outside opposite of the Kansas City Thief, Marcus Peters. And on third downs, they can kick him inside to the slot. But I don't know what kind of defense they want to run with Bob Sutton. But they got a really good young corner. I know that much. DC Big Oso says, yeah, but to be fair, last year was the best season of his career. Well, he's only had 2, DC. He's only had 2 years. And yeah, the last year was his best year, which means he's going up, which is what you want. It's not like his rookie season was the best, and last year he declined. The first year, he's like, he's coming off of microfracture surgery. He's getting back into the swing of things. Wasn't the greatest, but he had his moments. Last year, he was dominant for us. Led the team in picks. He was trending upward, which is what you want in a second-year player going into his 3rd season. He had figured it out. John Perez says, I want to see LSU's Arden Key in a Redskins uniform. Don't know if he'll fall to 13, though. He may, pass rushers go quick, but he's so small, but he reminds me of Alden Smith with his size and his length and that get off and that burst. We need a guy like that. I wouldn't mind it, but damn it, man. John Perez says, I turned 24 this Friday and looks like I get an early birthday present in Alex Smith. Happy birthday to you, JP. A little early. Azad Belial says, why Kendall Fuller? I know, man. I feel the same way. But it was a necessary evil, I guess. And the Browns wanted him bad, and I think that might have been the kicker. That might have been what swayed the deal in our favor, because the Browns contacted the Chiefs before we did. And we were able to intercept and come with a better package. Browns didn't have a player that they liked as much as Fuller. That was, I think, the deciding factor in us ultimately getting Alex Smith over the Browns. So, again, I don't love it, but I understand it. It's a part of the business. Little Man KCD Football says, who will the cornerbacks be if the Skins trade Fuller? So I think the Redskins are going to start the season with Norman on one side and Quentin Dunbar, and I think they're going to allow Dunny and second-year man Fabian Moreau, Fab, out of UCLA to compete for the opposite job. When it's all said and done, I expect Dunny to get the chance to start, but Moreau will be right there, and I think you're going to see a lot more of Joshua Halsey in the slot to fill the void left by Kendall Fuller. But all of that is speculation at this point. Mr. TNA says, after the trade, we found out that the Cowboys are winning next year the division with Wentz problems in the first weeks. Washington and Giants and Philly will fight for second place. We will see. Big Jack KC25 says, do you like Alex or Cousins better? I would have preferred Cousins. That's homegrown product. That's our guy. We watched him grow from an interception, low confident machine, an interception machine that lacked confidence, to a guy that had matured into a player that knew his abilities, knew what he was capable of. And I think the best still was yet to come for Kirk. So I'd have loved to have seen Kirk Cousins continue to evolve in a Redskins uniform. That being said, Alex Smith is similar in his play. He's cheaper, and he allows us to build this roster up in the short term. So it is what it is. Mr. Hand Glider Man says, hey, Giants fan here. Now that you got Alex Smith, what do you feel is the biggest hole on the team? Also, you guys are the best NFC East fan base, excluding my Giants. Appreciate that. The biggest hole on this team is, to me, the running back position, the receiver position, and I still think we lack a dominant pass rusher, but it's not the biggest need. The biggest need for me would be the biggest impact player would be a pass rusher. But the biggest need, the most glaring holes on our team right now, we don't have a number one wide receiver. You could argue that we don't even have a number 2, but I think Doxson will serve as a number 2, and we don't have a number 1 running back. So those are the biggest holes to me. As we continue on, YY says, would Alex Smith make a difference of getting a playoff berth? Smith and Kirk have similar stats, and the Redskins missed the playoffs the past 2 seasons. Yeah, but the difference between winning a game and not winning a game is maybe Alex Smith extending a play and throwing for a touchdown instead of Kirk Cousins rolling out against the Giants and throwing a pick. And you beat the Giants in that game, you go to the playoffs last year. Maybe Alex Smith makes a play to get us in the field goal range to win that game instead of throwing a back-breaking pick to lose us that game. The difference between us making the postseason in 2018 and missing it the last 2 years, maybe the defense isn't ranked dead last like it was in 2016 and still bottom third of the league in 2017. Maybe the defense is middle of the pack. Maybe we're 19th in the league. If we're 19th in the league on defense, with the way we play offense with Jay Gruden and the way we get it done on the offensive side of football, we're going to have a chance to make the postseason. So Alex Smith, similar stats to Kirk. I feel like if the defense improves, we're going to have a shot. Run game improves, we're going to have a shot. A lot of ifs, but we'll have a shot. Enrique says, I feel like we should have traded Rob Kelly, but that's the thing. You can't just trade guys because you want to trade them. The Chiefs don't want Rob Kelly. So, but he says, I know everyone wouldn't like it. It just makes so much sense if we want to draft a dominant running back. But the Chiefs don't want Rob Kelly. You think they wanted to give away Kendall Fuller? They gave him away because that was what was going to make the deal come to fruition. I think if they could have given up Rob Kelly and threw in Preston Smith, they wouldn't have done that instead of having to give up Kendall Fuller. Yeah, they would have done that. But the Chiefs don't want those guys. They wanted Kendall Fuller. Skrilla Gorilla says, is it still possible to get something for Cousins, like franchise tag him and then trade him to the Browns for a first-round pick? It's possible, but it's highly unlikely, like probably not going to happen, like 99.9% not going to happen because the Redskins don't have any leverage. The Browns have no incentive to give the Redskins a first-round pick for him when the Redskins are going to allow him to test free agency. The Browns have the most money to spend. Why give up a first-round pick when you can still sign Cousins and spend that on Saquon Barkley or best defensive player or whomever and get some of the best players that this draft has to offer, 2 of them instead of 1? If the Browns are smart, any team is smart. There's no reason to trade. Now, again, the upside to trading for him is that you don't have to get into a bidding war for his services with other teams that have money. But again, who wants to give up a first-round pick to a team that isn't going to keep Kirk Cousins? There's no leverage for the Redskins, so it's highly unlikely. Highly unlikely. Let me check Twitter real quick, get to some more comments. Belly says, you can have Byron Jones. We don't know how to use him over here in Dallas. Dude's a hell of a talent. That is for certain. Soundwave said, and y'all look like y'all trying to get y'all hands on Earl Thomas, and he wants to play for y'all. You remember what he said after the Cowboys and Seahawks game? He went to Jason Garrett in the tunnel after the game and said, if you can come get me, come and get me. So, you know, that's a Texas boy, went to University of Texas. He'd love to come home. In any event, Soundwave92 says, I think Bruce Allen will be on the hot seat if this trade is finalized. Giving up this much for Alex Smith is going to hurt your defense hard in the future. I think it's a good trade. I didn't love giving up Kendall Fuller. I don't love giving up Kendall Fuller. But if it had to be done at our position of most depth, they traded away a guy that they felt like they could get away with trading and still not be hurt. So let's see. Somebody sent me a tweet of Kendall Fuller saying, man, I'm safe. I ain't get traded. But that was at 11:02. And since then, we've had a bunch of different tweets come out, a number of different publications coming out saying that he's been traded. So I tend to believe it's Kendall Fuller. Because, like I said, that tweet was at 11 o'clock Eastern Standard Time. We've had a ton of tweets and notifications and sources reporting it's Kendall Fuller since 11 o'clock. So we'll see. I think it's Kendall Fuller, but we'll see. JJ Rockstar R-rated says, please tell me we didn't give them mother effers, them MFers. Fuller, please just tell me that. I can't tell you that. I can't tell you that. I can't. I wish I could. I wish I could, but I can't tell you that. At Assassins_A says, damn, bruh, y'all gave up on Kendall Fuller in a third rounder for Captain Checkdown. Tragic. We didn't give up on Kendall Fuller. It was a necessary evil, but I don't love it. I'm going to continue to reiterate, I don't love it, but if that's what had to be done to outbid the Browns, then I guess, but I thought I saw star potential in that young man. And like I said, I would have rather given up Josh Norman, honestly speaking. At Redskins Recon says, look, man, I'd rather have Smith for real because I'm done with the picks and the Giants game to end the mediocre years, the last two seasons. It's not me, he slipped, I'm done. And I watch Smith and I see some Aaron Rodgers with edge. Man, I really do. And we needed him. I feel you. I know what you're talking about with he slipped. He slipped. It was a good read. I'll do it again. He just slipped. It was a good throw. He slipped. I understand that. Kirk's got somebody. I told you, Kirk's got a little bitch in him. We've had this discussion before. All right? So I know where you're coming from. And yes, I think Alex Smith's got a little bit of baller in him. I agree. Kirk lacks a little bit of that. We've been asking for that. He lacks it, but we saw more of it this year. Again, I don't think we've seen the best of Kirk Cousins. That was my thing all along, is that he's going to continue to evolve. Alex Smith was in the 2005 draft. It's 2018. Okay? This is a guy that's been in the league for over a decade. Right? Kirk Cousins is going into his fourth year as a full starter. Fourth year. He's going to get better. All right? But, again, I already knew he was gone. That's not the discussion. The discussion isn't Kirk versus Alex, because Kirk didn't want to be here anymore, and the Redskins botched this whole situation, so they had to make a move. So we're past the Kirk Cousins versus Alex Smith discussion. That's done, okay? The new discussion is, did we give up Kendall Fuller? And was that the right thing to do? That's the new discussion. Because I told you last offseason Kirk was gone. So this doesn't come as a surprise to me. Alex Smith being a Redskin is a surprise, and a welcome one, being that we were going to be left high and dry with nothing after Kirk left. So I'm happy to get Alex Smith. Am I happy about what we had to give up to get him? Third round pick? Yes. Kendall Fuller? No. But, again, it was a necessary evil. And if that's what had to be done to make this deal go through and to beat the Browns, I'm all for it. I don't agree with it. I don't love it. I wish we could have went another route, explored other options. But We'll see. But I get where you're coming from, John. I do. At Redskins Recon. I get where you're coming from. I understand. We in this together. I get it. Mr. TNA says, Chiefs are huge winners of this trade. If Mahomes can develop into a good quarterback, their future is bright. Right. Somebody just brought up the point. Trade not official till March 1st. I mean, the trade is all but official. But it can't be official to the start of the new league year. So it won't become official until then. But all the particulars have already been hashed out. Nothing's going to change between then and now. What's done is done. At Raiders fan 08 says, you'd rather get rid of Josh Norman? He that trash now? He's not that trash. It's just that I think he's past his prime. I think his best football was in Carolina. We got a really good year of him in year one. And I could be wrong. And he could have been disinterested at the end of the year when he started to get his ass roasted. But after he came back from the injury, he wasn't the same guy. And he hasn't caught anything with us. He's had a great impact in forcing fumbles. But he gets beat on in-breaking routes. He gets beat deep a ton. He gets penalized a lot. And like I said, he's had opportunities to make big plays by picking off the football, and he hasn't done that for us. What has he got? 1 interception, maybe 2 in 2 years? He had like 5, 6, 7 of them in Carolina one year and like 3, 4 touchdowns one season. They're still throwing the ball at him in DC. Not as much, but they're throwing the ball at him. So, no, he's not that trash. I see so much star potential in a much younger player that's a cheaper option in Kendall Fuller. We would have freed up more cap space had it been Norman. Fuller is much younger. He's only going into his 3rd season. And I think the sky's the limit for him. He can get better. He's faster. Everything that you want in a corner, I thought Fuller had. But, again, not going to continue to cry over spilt milk. Belly says, you don't have a Tyreek Hill, but Jamison Crowder has been the most consistent out of all your receivers. But at the same time, coaching hasn't allowed him to step into a bigger role. Coaching, but he hasn't made enough plays to step into a bigger role. He's dropped some passes. He's fumbled the football. He's made mistakes. He hasn't been fully healthy. So it's a confluence of a lot of different things. But Crowder isn't Tyreek Hill. I don't want to compare the two. Hill is one of the best receivers in football. He's one of the most dynamic players we've seen in the league in quite some time. Jamison Crowder is not even close and nowhere near his level. So I don't want to compare the two. Mondraw says, wasn't Fuller a liability at man coverage, or was that his brother? I can't speak to what his brother, Kyle, is doing, but Kendall wasn't a liability in man coverage. Like I said, he was playing his ass off this year. And he led our team in picks. And he was just starting to get it. So, let's see. Let's see. Where are we now? See how long we've been up here. We passed the 2-hour mark, so we'll go for another 10 or 15, and then we'll get out of here. I'm seeing some crazy comments as I scroll up, trying to catch up to where we left off at. All right, this is as far as they'll let me go up. Chief Keef says, how do you think Fuller will fare in KC? How does this change your opinion on the trade? I've already said that I don't love including Fuller in on the deal if that is in fact the case, but I understand why they had to do it. The Browns were hot on the trail of Alex Smith. They were in heavy pursuit, and I think that was the deal breaker. You want to get the deal done, throw in Kendall Fuller. You don't want to get the deal done, Don't include him. We'll go with the Browns. They twisted our arm. They forced us. We put ourselves in this position to have to do this. So I still like the fact that we got a quarterback. At the end of the day, as much as I love Kendall Fuller, and I hate the fact that we just dealt him, because I like I said, I see star potential in him. We needed a quarterback more so than we needed Kendall Fuller, which is what the Redskins essentially said by dealing Kendall Fuller. And they're right. I don't like it. It didn't have to be this way, but they put themselves in a position where it had to be this way. Levi Naaman says, Reed fleeced us again. Can't believe they traded Fullers. He says, Smith, I do like him. And when he says again, if you're a Redskins fan, he's talking about the Donovan McNabb trade. So, yeah, there's that too. But anyway, carry on. Mazer _12 says, did realize that my comment was so low. I feel bad for the fans of the Skins. Don't feel bad for us. Eagle Speed says, y'all drank the big red Andy Kool-Aid. He tricked his Skins in this one. This is going to be McNabb trade 2.0. Don't do us like that, man. Say it ain't so. Don't do us like that. I feel like we're getting Alex Smith still in the prime of his career. So he had the best year of his career statistically in 2017. So I feel good. He made it to the Pro Bowl. And even though he was an alternate, he was outstanding this year. So anyway, J Cam Man says, I agree with the guy who was talking about Mike White. He looked very pro and ready in the Senior Bowl. And that's the quarterback from Western Kentucky. I think he'll be a late round, a mid to late round guy that you can get, maybe end up being good value for some team. We'll see. John Perez says, would you be surprised if Florida State's Derwin James falls to 13? Nope, wouldn't be surprised at all. I told you, players are going to drop. Did we expect the safety out of Ohio State last year to fall to the Colts? What did the Colts select last year? Like 13 or 14, somewhere in there? Who expected Marshawn Lattimore to fall to the Saints at like 13? Where'd the Saints draft? Like 13? 11, 13, somewhere in there? Who expected that to happen? 12? It happens when this many quarterbacks go up. Rye Go Crazy says, everyone is telling him to fail the physical. That's the comment I was laughing at as I was scrolling up. Levi Naaman says, at any rate, I'm glad the KC drama is over and he's not our problem anymore. We can move on and finally keep adding parts. Reed must love Bruce Allen, though. Yeah. You knew you guys were going to move on from Alex Smith, though. So. Rygo Crazy says, we need to go after Minka Fitzpatrick from Alabama. TNA says, why do the Skins fans think they will draft defense now when they got Alex Smith? It's clear they would draft a receiver or running back at 13. I think they're going to draft the best player available. That's what I think. And if that happens to be a running back or a receiver, it's not going to be a receiver in this draft. I can assure you that. The 13th best player, even if it went in order, the 13th best player isn't going to be a receiver. So I can assure you, in this draft, the Redskins will not spend the 13th pick overall on a receiver. You can book that right now. Timestamp it. 12:44 a.m. January 31st, 2018. Eastern Standard Time. Go ahead and timestamp that. We're not drafting a receiver at 13. Running back, if the right one falls, maybe. I doubt it. It's probably going to be defense, but again, best player available. It's most likely what's going to go down. Levi Naaman says, you think there's any chance the Skins would get cute and try to transition and trade Kirk? This could end in disaster? No. Already answered that a number of times. No, I don't see that happening because there's no leverage for the Redskins. They're not matching anybody's deal, which is what a transition tag is geared to do. Give you a chance to match any deal that's out there. If the Redskins were planning on keeping him, then you would slap the transition tag on him to give you a chance to match. You're not keeping. The only way you would tag him would be to franchise him, to trade him. But even with that scenario, that's $34 million that if Kirk wanted to be spiteful, he could sign. But again, no team is going to give up any assets knowing the Redskins aren't re-signing Kirk Cousins. What good would that do? Again, you could alleviate having to outbid other teams, but in the same breath, Kirk Cousins would have to agree to take himself off the market and just do business with one team. He's already said numerous times for 2 years straight, I want to test the free agent market. I want to see what my true value is. Trading him and allowing the Redskins to slap a franchise tag on him to trade him to one team goes against everything he's been asking to do for the last 2 years. So I just don't see any way that that's going to take place. Ron Cole III says, I'm literally livid right now. I cannot believe this mess. You have got to be kidding me. I don't know if that was geared towards the trade or what was included in the trade or everything. I don't even know the crux of that disgust by my man Ron Cole. Patrick Covington Jr. says, what are the next moves they need to make offensively? I think need to add a wide receiver. A pretty decent group would be nice with Alex Smith there. Running back and receiver are clear needs. You got to address the offensive line. I think they're going to do that in free agency, either signing their own or going out and getting one in free agency. And then I think receiver is one you can attack in free agency because I don't love this draft at receiver. So I think you can attack that via free agency. I think running back's the one you must address in the draft and early at that. But it's going to be defense, I think. But we'll see. TNA says, I need to tell the Chiefs fans to celebrate. I mean, if that is in fact the case, if Kendall Fuller is in fact a Chief, they should be happy about that because they were going to trade Alex Smith anyway. They were going to move on from him to get that caliber of football player in exchange for a guy that you were going to move. Again, it just happened to be at the biggest position that could fish you that kind of player in return, that could net you that kind of value back in return. So definitely good for the Chiefs. The Stoner Club says, let's get Johnson from the Rams. Definitely not happening. You're not tying up that kind of money into one position. You're already paying Josh Norman the highest cornerback deal in the league right now. If you were going to pay somebody, you would just pay Breeland to stay. But you're not going to go and pay Trumaine Johnson, who has been franchised just like Kirk 2 years in a row. He's looking for huge money. You're not getting Trumaine Johnson from the Rams. Sean Mack says, brilliant move by the Redskins. I love the move to get Smith. I'm a little somber about what it took to get him, but it had to be done. And I'm happy that we have a chance to have a season because it looked bad. I thought we were going to be bad for the next 2 years. And there's nothing worse as a fan base than knowing you're not going to be good in the upcoming season. And I didn't think we had just one. I thought we possibly had 2 of those seasons coming down the turnpike before getting Alex Smith. So it changes things drastically in terms of going from bottom feeders in the division to, hey, you got a shot to compete. Atlas says, this is a good trade, Lou. Alex Smith is like fine wine, ripening with age, and QBs are proving to be effective even in advanced age by precious standards. Solid. I agree. Everything you've said, I've tried to convey to Redskins fans tonight. Some are listening. Others don't care to listen. Others don't care. In any event, though, I like the move. Again, I like the move. Sean Mack, I do like this move. I like it a lot. And I did answer that already, but I love it. I love the move. I like Alex Smith. I don't love Alex Smith, but I think him and Kirk Cousins are very comparable in what they bring to the table. Going to give the Redskins a chance. Oh, wow. Okay. That sucks, but all right. Hopefully you'll be able to get that up and running soon. John Perez says, any chance this move pays off and we make a deep playoff run? Kirk wasn't the problem. So unless you address the things that were problems, Alex Smith is a de facto Kirk Cousins clone. Okay, not to a T, but he's going to offer you a lot of the same things that Kirk Cousins offered you. So if the defense isn't better, if we still don't have a run game, if our receiving core stinks, if Jordan Reed is injured, we're going to have a similar outcome. I hope you guys understand that. Like, Alex Smith isn't going to come in and save this football team. He's not Aaron Rodgers. He's not Drew Brees. He's not Ben Roethlisberger. He's not Tom Brady. He's Alex Smith. And that's good enough to win in this league if the defense is good, if you have a run game, if your receivers produce, if Jordan Reed can stay healthy. That's a lot of ifs. But I said all that to say this. At least we have a chance now. Without Kirk, without Alex Smith, with, say, and this was the assumption going into the offseason, that Colt McCoy was going to be our starter if we didn't go out in free agency and sign a quarterback. We didn't have a chance with Colt McCoy. You're fooling yourself if you think Colt McCoy was going to do anything better than 9-7. Or 7-9. 6-10. You're fooling yourself. So, Rodney Ray says, people don't realize that Kirk and Alex are similar is more of a reason to make this trade. Alex at 25 or 23.5 allows you to invest in other areas of the team. Don't want to be like Flacco and the Ravens. Exactly. Pretty much is what most of us were saying when we realized how high that Kirk number was going to get, is that you don't want to over-invest in the quarterback position at the risk of having to shortchange other positions. You don't want to overinvest in the quarterback position and not be able to allocate resources elsewhere. It'd be one thing if you had a ton of young talent and you drafted well. Yeah, you can do that. But we don't have any receivers. Right now, we're hurting that receiver. I don't want to discount Jamison Crowder and what Josh Doctson could potentially be, but it doesn't look good right now. And Ryan Grant. But we need running back help desperately. We could use some upgrades at linebacker. We still need a pass rusher. D-line could use another body or two. So I'm with you, Rodney. They're very similar, and I've said that a number of times tonight. Again, some are listening, some aren't. All right. Mr. TNA says, all Redskins fans will miss Kirk Cousins in 2 years. I guarantee it. You might be right. I've said it from the jump. Most Redskin fans wanted Kirk Cousins back. The few in the fan base that didn't want Kirk they were louder than the ones that wanted Kirk to remain in D.C. They were louder. They weren't more of them. They were just louder. All right? The weak start riots. The strong move silent. We weren't loud, but we were in the majority. We wanted Kirk back. Okay? So, it's not a situation where we wanted Kirk out, but Kirk became too rich for our blood. And we did this. Remember, the organization put him in a position of power where he was going to make this type of money. So they had to do something. They created this mess. They had to clean it up. So, in any event, we're going to end this thing right there. That's the perfect place to stop. It's been a great show. I knew this would generate a ton of opinions for everyone. Appreciate everybody hitting me up on Twitter. Appreciate everybody commenting on the chat discussion. I apologize if I didn't get to one of your comments. If you haven't already done so, make sure you subscribe to the Louie T Network for more great content. We're about to jump into the draft, and that's going to be really big. So a lot of big things coming for this channel in the near future. So jump on board. It's not too late to get on the train. It's about to take off. So go ahead and get aboard, man. We got plenty of seats available. A lot of great content coming down the pipeline. Big move for the Redskins. We're going to discuss this more in the coming days as more things develop from this story. Your final takeaways. Alex Smith traded from the Chiefs to the Redskins. Upon the trade, he then receives a 4-year extension. 4 years, $94 million, 71 of it guaranteed, 23.5 per is what that averages out to. Kirk Cousins gone after this trade. The Redskins aren't even going to mess around and try to re-sign Kirk Cousins. The writing was on the wall. I don't think either one wanted to salvage the marriage. I think both have agreed internally in their minds to mutually part ways. And so I think the two best situations for Kirk now, Cleveland and Denver, are going to be your front runners. Don't discount Jacksonville, the Jets, or Arizona as dark horses. But to me, Cleveland and Denver are your two front runners for the services of Kirk Cousins once free agency hits. That'll be the guy everybody's looking to, and he'll be the biggest domino in the upcoming 2018 NFL free agency frenzy. So that'll be intriguing to say the least. But the Redskins come away with Alex Smith. A subproduct and a byproduct of this trade is, did the Redskins trade away star or budding young star corner Kendall Fuller in the process, along with that 3rd round pick? It's been reported that it has been confirmed. It's also been denounced by Fuller himself. The two conflicting reports speak to the secrecy of this deal, but I tend to believe all of the reports that came out after Fuller said it wasn't him, that it was in fact him. We'll find out tomorrow for sure who the Redskins traded. Fuller may still be a Redskin. I'm hoping that he is. He may not be. Either way, Alex Smith is now a Washington Redskin, and that's a good thing if you're a Washington Redskins fan. Some of you may not be able to see it now. Trust me, it's for the best. I am a Redskins fan, etched in burgundy and gold. My Redskins spirit will never die. Redskins spirit will never fold until we meet again. Hail to our beloved Redskins. If you can, please donate to this channel. Patreon, the link is in front of you. PayPal, the link is in front of you. The links are also down below in the discussion of this and every single video that I do. And again, if you haven't already done so, please subscribe to the channel. Lots of great content coming down the pipeline. So it's been a great night. It's been a crazy night. I thank you guys for joining me. I'm your man, Louie T, signing off. I'll see you next time. I was working on Super Bowl videos. Like, this totally threw off my whole mix. I got to try to jump back into that now. Wow. This just was a bombshell, sort of like the Blake Griffin trade in the NBA yesterday. Another bombshell, this time in the NFL. What more can I say? Not much more to say, but I'll see you next time. Thanks again for joining me.